Hey everyone, so in the last video we talked about coffee and things and it wasn't very technical, so today's video is going to be very technical. So we're going to look at my streaming setup because of course Studio One, our main recording studio, is amazing, but it is about an hour's drive away from where I live and sometimes I want to do live streams from the comfort of my own home, and so being a massive nerd I've made a quite complex and pretty cool streaming setup which includes hardware, mixers and all sorts of cool gadgets to make it run as smoothly as possible. So let's have a look. So the first things you'll notice as you walk into my front room, firstly, green screen. Secondly, there's no sofa anywhere. There's a one-seater in the corner, which is where whoever's not streaming tends to sit because it's comfy. But the main thing is there's a big TV with a whole kind of setup like you might find in a typical kind of gadget nerd's home. But then there's all this. What are this? So let's go through it from the top. Let's start from the front and work our way back. So we've got an Xbox One, a PlayStation 3, we've not got PS4, but hey, we might do it at some point. And they go into this box, and what this does, this is an HDMI switcher, and I made sure I got one that's powered because we had issues with kind of the passive ones. So input 3 goes back to where we sit, and at the moment my iPad is plugged into it through this little dongle. So this is what I call my C rig. My B rig, which is my laptop, can sometimes go here as well. If I'm doing a mixing tutorial or something like that, the laptop goes here, but the screen output, usually on HDMI, goes into this box. And input 4 is actually a secondary screen from the streaming computer, which we'll come back to. So this makes its way back here to this box, and what this box does, this splits the HDMI signal so that one copy goes to this TV and one copy goes all the way around the back of the room and goes right into another box which is back here. So let's find it. So this is a bit of a rat's nest and I do need to tidy this up, and I will do that at some point. But that box back there is an HDMI audio extractor, and that takes the sound in real time from that HDMI signal and passes it to this. And we have a 6-channel mixer here, so I'll just hide that. The HDMI goes in to this machine, to an Ava Media PCI card. We were using an Elgato. This is an old machine that I've got. This case is over 10 years old now, but it still does the job. And this computer is running XSplit, which is our streaming software. And you can also see our feedback on the YouTube live chat here, or I can put Twitch up or whatever it is that we're using to stream. You can see me on the camera because the camera here is a Logitech C920. Which is still kind of the gold standard for streamers because it autofocuses, it looks fairly decent. You can do something like get another capture card and use a DSLR, but by that point you're spending a lot of money on that side, when that's usually just kind of the bit in the corner. Let's go back to talking about this desk. So we've got one that's called Elgato because we were using an Elgato capture card. I'm not going to change the name of it just because it'd be confusing at this point, but that's a stereo line input, and what we can do there is that's the level of whatever it is that we're capturing. There's 2 mic inputs. We're only using one right now, but that's using an SE Electronics. Let's see if we can get some brightness on that. An X1A, which for the price is an absolutely fantastic microphone. I'll take this foam off it. It's a kind of, I think it's large, medium diaphragm condenser, and it sounds absolutely fine. As you can see, it hangs over whoever's head, and we point the capsule at whoever's streaming between me and Mickey. I've made this, I mean, it's a really nerdy setup, but I've tried to make it so that when you're ready, you open up the software and you just go. And one of the big issues that we had was latency on the audio. So we've tried to eliminate that as best we can. Now there's two inputs here that say vinyl. Over in the corner is the record player, which has the Dirty Laces EP on, which I produced recently. But that goes straight to the desk, so if we want to do a chill out stream and have some vinyl playing in the background, you just turn up the faders on that and off you go. That's right, I was using that for another source. And then we've got two that are labelled stream machine, and that's the output from this streaming machine, so that if there's any notifications come through, anything we want to hear on stream, that's just folded through. And all of this, well, let's start. These two microphones go down to this rack here. Now you can see the meters going. This is a Behringer unit. Yes, I know, Behringer, dirty, cheap, but this does exactly the job I wanted it for. This is a Multicom Pro. This is a 4-channel gate and compressor. Now, what I'm using it for is, I got this desk specifically. It's not an expensive one. I think Citronic. I got this because it has insert points, and cheap desks don't tend to see. You don't tend to see insert points. They go after the microphone gain, after the 48 volts, so they convert a microphone into a line level, then send it out. So the channels that the microphones are on, because there's quite a bit of background noise in here. There's, I'm not a big fan of kind of, you know, rustling noise and fidgeting noise. I didn't want to do any of that in software, so as you see me speaking, the levels go in there. As the left thing is red there, that's our gate, and every time I talk, that opens. And the compression, when the compression kicks in, which is, there we go, there's a little bit of an added benefit of a bit of compression. I don't use much, but it's there. The gate was what I wanted for those, and channels 3 and 4 are the master. So the master output from the desk goes through these two, and we're using it as a peak limiter, so that if the game gets really loud or if anyone shouts or anything, it catches the level properly, so that we don't get any huge spikes. And that goes to the line input on the desk. And actually there's a couple of little boxes down here, these little black boxes, and what they do is, there was some ground hum, some ground loop hum, some buzzing going on. So that's just 3.5mm ground isolators, which means we don't get that horrible going on. And that means that there's a full, the sound comes in synced to the video, because the video from the capture card's only got a few frames of latency on, so it all kind of pans out quite well. We used to get 2 full seconds of latency on the Elgato USB capture card that we had, which is why that went and we got the Ava Media instead, because 2 seconds of latency for someone who's doing audio production streams doesn't look very good. I mean, I've tried at several points putting in things like delay lines in the software, but then if anything gets changed, which happens sometimes, then that gets lost and you're back to square one. So as you can see, I'm writing scripts for 2 notes at the moment for the, there's going to be a whole series for the Preamp pedals, and that's coming up very shortly. Extra thing I didn't say, the stereo down there that says TV input on it. The TV, we don't use the sound out of it. I've never been a fan of speakers in TVs, they're always terrible. So the sound comes out of a coaxial input to a coax digital input on the hi-fi there. No EQ on it, that's just going straight to these quad speakers, which means that we get a pretty decent sound. Those things only look small, but they do some serious low end for what they are. Quad are a very big name in hi-fi. So over here we've got an Audient ID4, and what I'm using the ID4 for in this context is when the B-Rig, the powerful mixing laptop is here, the audio goes through there to the ID4, and then it goes out to this headphone amp. This is a custom-made Nico SoundLab headphone amp that's an 18-volt headphone amp, which is an absolute monster. The performance on it is beautiful. So if I'm mixing, I use that headphone out. If I want to hear what's coming out of the stream, I tend to use this headphone out. And this is just using a cheap pair of cheap pair of Sonys which appear to have sat on the cable. That's why I use cheap headphones for this, because that is just to monitor the output of the stream. So if I'm doing any serious mixing work, I don't use these. I use Sennheiser HD650s, which are to my right. HD650s are my go-to. As you can see, these are absolutely battered. These have literally been around the world with me. These get put in my bag. These have been abused, I'll admit. They've been kind of badly treated. I do have another pair in a box that are nearly pristine, but for a lot of the stuff that I do, I find that just taking these with me works absolutely fine. I make sure the actual headphones inside are in good condition. They're not cosmetically pretty anymore, but these really have done some big mixes for me and a lot of miles. But yeah, you need a decent headphone adapter to run them. A decent headphone amp even. Losing the will to speak words now. The one thing that I wish I could do is, at the moment I'm struggling to capture the iPad screen, which is through the HDMI dongle, and use an interface at the same time. Apple seem to be restricting that, because the ID4 does work with the iPad, with the right adapter, which I've got around somewhere. I think that's in my bag, and a USB splitter, and a power bank, which I've shown in another video. So I'll use a USB splitter because the ID4's not got a separate power in, but that works. I've got the ID22 around as well, but that's at the studio right now. And I've still had business cards and pics and stuff. It's typical nerdery on here. The keyboard doesn't get used much on the Stream Machine either. That literally just goes on your lap to change things and then goes back. It's not comfortable, but it fits in a small space. Yeah, so it's quite a complicated stream setup. And yeah, the other reason that I have the Stream Machine input here is that what I tend to do before every stream is I get this set up, I get ready, make sure all my scenes are working properly, like so, and then I will record some local footage, and I'll play it back and make sure that the sound is there, sound level is good, it's in sync. There's been more than one occasion, like right now, I can see on the sound level here I'm not getting any sound. So I'd have to look in the audio settings. Line in is selected, which is right. I'm not seeing any output. That's why I'm not seeing any output on the microphones weren't actually turned up, which means, yeah, typical, there we go, we can see that going now, we can see level. These are the kind of basic troubleshooting steps that I have to go through before every stream. And you should go through, because it means that I get less problems. But, oh, and the lighting's worth talking about as well. These lights I got very recently. These are kind of cheap. These are from Niwa. Check out those massive batteries on the back. I got those because it turns out, as great as these are as key lights, they only last about 45 minutes with the batteries that come with them. So I got the big fat Sony batteries that you can get. In fact, let's pull one, show you the size of this. Look at the size of this for a battery. These are absolute monsters. These are what Sony put in the professional camcorders to give them like 6 hours of film time. These are what the ENG guys use. But these just click in. Oh yeah, you can use AA's if you like. But these just click in. And I think you get the longest we've run these for at full power, there we go, is 4 continuous hours. And then we've got chargers down there to charge all 3 of them with intelligent chargers. So yeah, oh yeah, that big ball is so that Mickey has somewhere to sit to make her back okay, because she's heavily pregnant. And yes, we're gonna have to rethink a lot of this. I'm definitely gonna have to tidy all these wires up before the baby can crawl. But I wanted to show you the kind of the process and the way that the layout of the cables and the wiring has gone. I mean, the fact that we've got like big long cables going around the back is because we wanted the PC to be on this side and the stream to be on that side. When we do move house, which we're going to at some point, we'll probably be making this shorter cable runs, neater cable runs, tidier, put away and nice and safe, because as it is, we've added to it and it's got a little bit excessive. But yeah, there's a lot to work on. But this is my home setup, so I hope you've enjoyed not just looking at this, but seeing how I think about the process of I'll start with something as simple as possible. Then when there's a problem, I get a new thing to fix the problem and another thing to fix the problem. And that's how I end up at these crazy setups. It's not as if I just go, right, let's get everything. As much as I do complicated stuff, I like to try and be a simple man wherever possible. Being a nerd, it doesn't pan out that way. But hey, this is how it is. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. And at some point soon, I think I'll get around to doing a new updated tour of the main studio, because it's been a long time since I've done that, and a lot of small subtle things have changed. So it'll be worth talking about what I use now, and how the rooms are separated, how the floating floor in isolation works, because the Welcome to the Studio video is a couple of years old now. So I think at the time where I made that, I had something like 200 subscribers, and now there's nearly 10,000 of you, so cheers for that. And yes, that's going to be a good one, so I'll talk you through that very soon. And there's more professionally edited videos coming soon as well. So thank you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, feel free to check out our other videos, as you can find here, or check out our Facebook and Twitter, or our Patreon page, which helps us to make more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.